Yeti's fault.
It's your fault. And you're sitting up too high, too. Look at you.
It's my fault. You're the one who gave me the link at 2 minutes before the hour.
Because Zoom decided I need to like rejoin and do a new like EULA, and it just I can't even log in.
Yeti's fault.
It's your fault. You can't log in.
There
I can't
you go.
log in. No one can log in. We're all
fair enough.
Well,
we're on now and they can all hear us, and that's great because I think this topic is going to be interesting and possibly contentious, but the debate online has been very contentious between two camps, and I think both of them are right. So we can talk about it later when we get into the meat of it.
Yeah. Wow. A whole bunch of people were in the talk already. I come in, there's like 100 messages in before we even started.
I was talking with them during the time when Zoom was making you re-update the EULA.
Wow. This is crazy. Yeah, there was a lot going on. It's just us. We might have a guest come in the middle because, oh my God. I don't know what it seems like. I'm always busy, but I have a surprise for you, Mark.
Okay. What's the surprise?
Last week, I showed the Eldamon plushies came in. Well, I got something else that came in for the same Kickstarter, our Eldamon Kickstarter. Do you want to see the very
is it the minis?
Cool? The minis actually came in a while ago.
Okay.
The minis, though, I actually don't have them right in front of me, but check this out.
That's fair enough.
Are you ready? Dun, da, da, da. Look at that!
Aha!
Look, they're engraved. They have embossed. These are the dice cases. Man, they're very nice.
Those look cool.
I know. You got these for free if you subscribe, if you did the Kickstarter, and we got a nice, cool little roll for combat on the front, so you can, whether you like it or not. Sorry, that's what you get for free. You get a free dice case. You get a roll for combat engraved on the front, and the Elder Dexes came in. Look at these things. These things are awesome.
Oh yeah, the journals to put your Elder Dex notes for your characters. They look really cool.
Yeah, I didn't even open them yet. I can open one live on the air. Let's open one up. Opening up live journal. And wow. Oh my God. Smells funky. Oh, look at that. It's embossed. It's color. It's got different color pages. It's got little bookmark. Look at that.
Neat.
Like it has like different. I mean, it's a fun notebook. Okay, the Dragon notebook, and then we also have the Phoenix notebook, and the Phoenix notebook actually has gems on it.
Oh, that's cool. Real gems or obviously fake gems, right?
Well, they're really fake.
They're really fake.
There you go. Got really fake gems on there. Same inside.
I mean, I like really fake gems. It actually looks cool with that little fake gem in there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I already see some interesting conversations in chat about the topic, and I'm excited to get into it. We'll do a few more minutes of letting people gather in first, though.
But then I got some of the dice.
If you remember from last week, we had a wildly explosive week last week where like everything came out, including the Foundry for Jewel of the Indigo Isles, and
one bug was found.
Battle Zoo Bestiary, Strange and Unusual. And the Eldamon Trainer playtest PDF came out, although there was still time on
that closes
getting
today.
getting in applications for the NDA.
Oh, I gotta close that off.
A lot of things came out last week, just in general for everybody, and we're continuing to put out more. We had a survey today asking people what they were interested in seeing in a setting book, because Steven announced last week on this stream that we have World of Battle Zoo Indigo Isles as a book that we are going to do that is like a setting. Yeah, you did.
I don't remember that.
It was just you literally said it during the stream.
Oops. Yes, we're doing it. Well, it's not that big of a surprise, but
it's not, especially since people had noted that they saw in the Strange and Unusual that that there was some product called that.
Yes.
And then even in the stream chat, Jaina B was talking about it, and then you said that nobody noticed that it was in there.
No one really said anything. So, but...
yeah, not a lot of people did, but some people who were very eagle-eyed read the sidebars and saw that it had been name dropped in Strange and Unusual.
Yeah, well, not only that, it's almost done. That's the craziest part is not only is the book getting work done, we're trying something new here, because if I have one more person write me and ask where the Jewel of the Indigo Isle hardcover is,
I have empathy for them, because
I do.
It did take a long time.
It did.
But I also have a lot of empathy for you, because I know how many people sent to you. So I have empathy for everyone in that process. Then again, anyone who pledged for Jewel of the Indigo Isles got a steal, because it became so gigantic compared to what it was originally thought of as being.
Yes, you got a steal. And the book itself is actually very expensive to print. So, I mean, it ain't cheap. So you're getting a really good deal.
And hey, that's actually more on topic than
more on topic than you thought. But the point is that most people, what they will do, and I know because I see it, they'll put out the book and then they'll put out maybe one correction or page or two, and that's it. We put out, oh my God, I must have redone the book 5 times. And
you have to pay for them every time.
No, I did not.
No, then that's good.
Yes,
at least
I did not. Yeah, The Crown of the Oathbreaker with PDF is $79.99 with a 900-page book. I agree. I know that book because I see it all the time. I actually don't own that book. I got to buy it. The thing with some of these books, though, and I'm not throwing under shade, but some of these books, like the Drow, like the Vault of the Drow, or even, hold on. Well, first of all, Poultice, which actually I do love, is $150. So you ain't getting a deal here.
Tallest.
Tallest. Tallest, though, was a home campaign converted into this book. So this was actually a book. This actually was a campaign people were playing. I think Eric Mona played in some of that, by the way.
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
Eric Mona
he played
did
in
play.
Bonnie's game.
Yeah.
But are we getting on topic?
We are getting on topic.
I'm very interested in this, and I have a bunch of data that I've pulled from D&D throughout the years.
I will do that, but I'm getting back. Let me start off topic, because then you have like Rise of the Drow, which is $100, by the way. It's actually listed at $130, but you can get it for $99, $100. This is a very good book. However, same thing. This was pre-made adventures and items added to a book. So what a lot of people do when they put out with these monster books is they will take either pre-written adventures or pre-made adventures they've created over years and then tie them together into a single book. Now, it's not cheating. I don't know what you would call that, but in my mind...
It's not. Paizo does anniversary editions of adventure paths too.
But that's an adventure path. These aren't really adventure paths. This was an adventure that they then tie together so it can come out as a single volume. Jewel of the Indigo Isle is one adventure written for one book. Like that thing is that what you see is what you get. Like that is a single adventure in a single book, written by 5 people, and never doing that ever again. that was unbelievably hard, which is ironic because the World Book, we have maybe 20 authors, but they're all separate. They don't have to interconnect perfectly, and it's been very easy in comparison. So anyhow, the book was printed. Printed.
Don't get me wrong, though. Crown of the Oathbreaker is also a steal.
Oh, that is a steal.
At $80 for 900 pages.
Yeah.
In fact, it's
too much book.
Looking at the fact that they got 1,644 backers on their Kickstarter, I'm worried. I don't know. Do you think that they actually might have lost money on it?
Yeah, oh God, yeah. Yeah,
I think they might have at that price.
Yeah,
we'll get into that a little bit later in the thing. But
yes and no, it depends. I can get into all of that because I've become much more savvy. The point I'm saying now is the book is printed. Literally, I went to the printer. They're like, it's literally been printed. It's done. Now they're doing what's called binding. What they're doing is they send me all the signatures, and then they make sure that I do a final approval, and I make sure everything looks good. And because, believe it or not, it's expensive. That's where it costs money. If I have to reprint a signature mark, that's money. That's expensive.
That's what I thought.
So if you have to reprint a signature, that will be whatever. It's like $800, $1,000 to reprint a signature. But if you have to, they will. And once you give that approval, they bind it and ship it, and that's it. So we're right there. We're right there.
Well, we've got a few super chats, and it seems like our live viewers already, some people have said some of the things that I was planning on saying too. But in super chat, Shelby Austin says, the reason this price is a good idea is that people will pull farther away and possibly direct more sales towards all the amazing third-party books out there. And Rage the Promise ad said, I think a higher cost demands higher quality, but 5e books have been going downhill. So that's an interesting segue, since we're around the time when we tend to switch into our main topic, to the main topic, which is, well, everybody, if you're here, you clicked on this video, you know Wizards increased their prices by about 20%. What would have been a $50 book is now a $60 book. In reality, also, I think it's a little bit shorter, so it may have been increased by a little bit more than that. So the question we asked is this actually good for the hobby? And know that is a different question than whether or not WoTC needed to raise the price to make a profit. It's a very different question. And the reason why I wanted to ask this question today is because I feel like Dungeons & Dragons pricing affects a lot of the smaller actors and publishers in the hobby in a way that can cause negative ripples. So some people online said Wizards is making plenty of money. They can afford to, even though inflation has gone up, to not really raise the prices, and they still probably be okay. And other people who were saying that the industry in general is on razor thin margins, and who have posted their own examples of losing money on or barely breaking even or what have you on their own projects. And I think everyone is right there, because the thing about RPG projects, and Steven talked about a little of it before, is that you not only have the cost per book for printing it. That's not where all of the costs are. Obviously, even without a 20% increase, Wizards was selling at an amount such that, they made money on each book. The question is, how many of the books do you need to sell until that profit margin can make up for your flat costs? And the problem is that those flat costs of just like the art and the freelance authors and everything that you have to pay, not per book, but just flat fee to make a book happen, Wizards is paying about the same amount as everybody else is. And they're selling way more books. So in order to make sure they don't lose money, they don't need to actually make as much. They probably could have made money at 50 and been okay. But a lot of small publishers can't. And I've seen people on Twitter giving examples of where it's like, yeah, they would need to sell 800 copies of their book to break even, and they think they were going to be lucky to get 400 or 500, and they're not going to break even on their book. So the reason that my general thought of why this is good for the hobby, if not maybe specifically for the fairness of the price of those specific Dungeons & Dragons books, is because people price check Dungeons & Dragons. They're like, well, this is Dungeons & Dragons. It's like the one I've heard of. Why is your small company charging more than that? Or why is this other thing so much more expensive? The reason being, they don't make as many of the books. So in order to not lose money, it needs to be a little more expensive. But so therefore, I feel that Wizards raising their price can release pressure on smaller publishers who were really scraping by, allowing them to raise their price when they kind of needed to. That's kind of my overall thought. I don't know I didn't actually ask what yours was, though, Steven.
Okay, so a few things. First of all, the price of books for hardcover core rule books, if you adjust for inflation, has been about $50. So you can look at the old D&D book, which was $9.99. Well, $9.99 way back in the 70s was $50.
Oh, so hold on. I have a table. I have a chart
Okay.
of all of this information,
Okay.
starting from the 1974 box set
Mhm.
and going down into 5th edition and Pathfinder 2nd edition with costs not adjusted for inflation and per word. And it's worse than that, Stephen. In fact, their Pathfinder 2nd edition core rulebook at $60 for a 640-page book that has around, I think it was 450,000 words. That was an estimate I made based on words per page, is not the most cost-efficient thing that ever came out as a D&D set. Actually, I thought it would be. It turns out D&D Rules Cyclopedia from 1991 just was an absolute, if you ignore inflation entirely, was the best price you could get per word. It was only $25, and it had 360,000 words of content.
Yeah, I don't know.
But here's the wild thing. If you ignore inflation, which was over 6 times inflation since 1974 box set came out, then even if you ignore it, those old boxes cost more per word than modern Pathfinder 2nd edition core rulebook. Ignore the high quality color art. Ignore everything else about it, that it was like kind of, very, very simply bound, just kind of in their own. And I'm not saying they were trying to rob you blind in 1974, or that the price is like 10 times too low or whatever now. Obviously, none of those were true. It's just they didn't sell a ton of copies back in 1974 because it was a small, starting out business. And now it's a massive behemoth. And so since D&D is a behemoth, it sells so many more, it doesn't need as much of a profit margin, right?
Yeah, I mean, some people, there's a lot going on. All right, let me go through my thing.
Okay.
Because you kind of interrupted me.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, well, you interrupted my train of thought, not interrupting me talking, because we interrupt each other all the time. Train of thought. So, the books have more or less been about 50-ish bucks, always. The thing is that these prices, it hasn't been raised in 9 years. So 9 years ago, it was a $50 book, which I remember thinking, wow, that's kind of expensive, back then, because that was 9 years ago when, things were a little differently priced. And I had $5 footlongs, and I go to Subway and you can get a whole lunch for $5. Well, now, today, I cannot spend in New York less than 15 to 20 bucks for literally like a sandwich and a soda, and that's it. Even a slice of pizza, I used to get slices of pizza for like 75 cents or a buck. It used to be like, it was like a $1.50 for a slice and a Diet Coke. I got a slice and a Diet Coke, it was like $7.50. So things have gone way, way, way up. My analogy that I use with you is cup of coffee, because that's something, even though I don't drink coffee, but everyone else drinks coffee, and I'm like, that is my sort of like, is my litmus test, is how much does a cup of coffee cost? And think about how many cups of coffee will equal like what you're going to do and buy a book, which can give you so many hours, or buying a video game or something like that. And it is a weird thing because, for example, someone said,
what did a cup of coffee cost in 1974?
Oh my God. It was like, in 1974, it was like maybe 25 cents, if that. Maybe 20, something like that.
Gosh.
Well,
wow.
when I was a kid in school, a candy bar was 25 cents. I remember that. Now a candy bar is like $2.50. So like I remember that. I remember getting all that. But the point is that things have gone up, and the problem is like it's going to go up, okay? And everyone's like, oh, there's going up. I'm like, the quality's not good, and that quality doesn't matter, okay? Everyone's prices have gone up, all right? The shipping is going up. The cost of paper went up a huge amount. And I've been seeing, if you look at all the big Kickstarters, a lot of them have been charging $60 a book in their Kickstarters. They give you other stuff, but like that's what it costs, okay? It's like it costs that to get these really nice books printed up, and I'm not talking about these black and white, OSR type books, like the stuff you get from DCC. I'm talking about. I'm just trying to find something here, like this, the Borcabus or whatever this was. This was the Latin American monsters. I mean, like the whole thing is full color, good paper, and this thing is. I'm going to tell you what it costs. Like, okay, this one is about how many? So 200, this is 262 pages, all right? 262 pages. Well, with this special cover, I know what this costs. This costs approximately about $7 to $8 per book, okay? That's what this is going to cost to print. Now, shipping is another, we'll say $2.50 per book. So let's just round it out, okay? Just to print this book is $10. Okay, so just printing the book,
at least.
Okay,
right? You rounded down of 50 cents there.
I rounded,
and
so
that's after the shipping has increased in
after
price.
Shipping,
right?
Yes, that's after shipping, because shipping is about $2.50 per book.
It used to be a lot less.
It used to be a lot less
before the whole.
Well,
pandemic.
It actually used to be way less. Then it went more. Now it's like it's still less, and the more you ship, the cheaper it gets. So that's just. Also, where you ship in the country, there's a lot of factors for shipping.
Sure.
So I'm going to say $10. Now, for this book, on average, most books will cost anywhere from maybe with shipping from about $7 to $10. Oh, I can get it back in. $7 to $10. Now, what happens is when you sell the book to a distributor, so you sell it to say Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Noble pays 50%, and then Diamond, whoever you're using as a distributor, they get 10%. So for your
you get 40%.
You get 40%. Okay.
And here's the best part: they can send any number of those back, and you have to and get a refund at any time, and you have to take it with most distributors.
Right. So suddenly your $50 book, you're getting $20 for. So I get $20 for my $50 book, which means it costs me $10 just to print. So I get $10 per book, and then there's the costs of making it. So
so exactly that $10 per book has to afford everything.
Yeah.
And you can go online, you can find conversations. I mean, heck, I agree with these conversations that artists and authors and everyone needs to be paid more in the industry. But the problem is when you're getting to that by $10 at a time for each book, you really need to either move as many books as D&D does, or else you're kind of in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, they can get their costs way down because they're D&D and they're WoTC, but they
can not only get their costs down, and they also probably pay less per book, not only because they make more, but because I think they use lower quality stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Paizo, who uses lower quality stuff than you.
Yes,
but they can cut their costs. They can make a lot of books so that even if they did only get $10 per book, which they're obviously getting more. If they sell 1 million books, or I mean, they don't sell that many, right? But if they sell 100,000 books, then that's still they made $1 million. So maybe they do sell a million.
So by the way, WoTC isn't using third-party printers for printing. They print themselves. Not always. They don't always print themselves. They sometimes do, and that doesn't mean it's cheaper. Okay, because running a printing plant is extremely expensive. That actually was one of my 3 majors in college, was printing. And I took classes at GATF, Graphical Arts Technical Foundation, and my wife was actually also in charge of printing for 20 years. So I actually know a lot about printing and like what it costs. And like to run a printing plant ain't cheap. And yes, if they have a printing plant of their own, which I know they used to and they still do, it costs a lot to keep those things going. The other issue is that they have to constantly go. Like they run 24/7. They basically never stop because that's the only way they can really make money. Is that they just print like as much as they can. So anyhow, what does that all mean? That means like you see $60 a book, I see $24 a book. Like that's I see $20 a book. Like you're not getting as much as you think. Okay,
or 24 minus 10, so 14.
Or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like they're not making that much on these books. Now, you might think, oh well, poor WoTC, poor developers. Well, that is also why so many people are going online because, when you do something online, okay, you don't get 100% profit. You
Sure,
just
you
don't.
have to pay for like servers and certain other things, but
you get
it sure is closer.
You get close. You get it to the 90s. Okay, you get almost all that's profit. But also that you can say, well, then things should be cheaper. It's like actually it's the opposite. What's been keeping the prices down is that the digital products have been subsidizing the printed products. Because what happens is that you can make up the losses. The printed products are almost a loss leader at this point, and you make all your profit on the digital products, and the printed products are just for people who want the printed books. Right now, I can't tell you how much I am really getting sick of printed books. I'm going to keep doing them, but I just got, within 2 days, someone from, 2 overseas customers who bought hundreds of dollars worth of books, and they didn't get them. And now I'm fighting with FedEx because it's like, well, did they get them? I got to it's like, dude, it is so not worth it. I'm like, it is going to cost me to reship those books hundreds of dollars. So it's all lost just to get these books sent out. And
right,
it's like,
we didn't even take into account mistakes like that when you were giving your estimate before.
I have
for a
nothing
small
to do with
publisher, that becomes a huge percentage, even if it only happens one time, right? If it happens one time,
it happened twice in 2 days, and I'm really pissed. And I'm like, oh, hundreds of dollars worth of books went missing. Like one of them just never showed up, and one of them they think was stolen off their porch or something. And I'm like, and I have no control over that. And one was to Germany, one was France. I'm like, I can't do anything about this, but yet I have to still fix it. And I know that's the cost of doing business, but you know what? If it's literally a couple $100, that is 40 books you have to sell to make up for it.
Right.
It's really bad.
So even if it happens 1 in 100 times, that takes away a massive percentage
if it happens
of
1 in 100 times, I'm never shipping books again.
Oh, well, fair enough.
I'm done.
I know it
books.
doesn't happen that often.
It's fairly rare.
So Chase Street gave a super chat that said, the problem, I can pull 30 books from 30 different companies, small Kickstarter people, and at least 22 will be of superior binding and paper quality than Wizards. I'll pay for a quality book. Wizards doesn't make them, is what Chase Street said. And we use the highest quality standards from the entire printer that Paizo uses, and they use the second highest, if I recall correctly.
Second.
We're a small Kickstarter people, so I think our books would be some of the ones on your shelf that you could do that. So absolutely. Again, when I say that I think it might be good for the hobby that Wizards is raising it, it's only because people who get price checked when they're a small publisher will be able to raise it too. Not because I'm necessarily saying that it's worth it in the specific case of any particular given book for Wizards. Well, I did do the math on this new giant book, and it looks like they have actually doubled the price per word, assuming that we don't know how many words are on each page, but assuming that they're about the same number of words that were on each page in the original 5th edition books, and they didn't change the layout to reduce words per page. They've roughly doubled the cost per word since 9 years ago, or however many, when 5th edition was first released, from that 3 hardcover set for $150 at 993 pages down to now $60 for 192 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Which is 20% of the page count, and obviously much more than 20% of the cost.
Well, here's the thing. WoTC Hasbro has been doing this for a while now. There's a lot of issues here. The first issue is that the Hasbro books have been going down in quality, and that's been very recent. But it's not just their books. All their products have actually been going down in quality. One thing they did, which everyone caught, is that they used to have a little window so you could see into the products before you bought them.
Right.
And for their action figures, they got rid of those windows because A, I know it's cheaper, and B, supposedly, I don't buy it, but this is what people have been saying on YouTube, and all the people are into this stuff, is that the paint quality and the paint jobs stink. and that this is like very bad quality. So they've been getting rid of the window, so you can't see it before you buy it, and then you have to tear it open and destroy the packaging to actually see the products. And they
they want people to get like one that may have been broken in shipping and then have to buy it again?
No. They just don't want people to look at it and say, "Oh, this isn't that great quality," and then they buy it. It's like a blind box, and they have been doing that. But you know what? They're not the only ones. Like if you're into the food industry, they've been very quietly, because no one wants to raise prices. So they've been making food portions smaller for the same price. A good example of this actually is like, the only reason I know it's because my kids eat cheese sticks. Like cheese sticks, so they haven't changed the packaging. So the packaging used to be, say, like this long, and now the cheese stick is like this big. The cheese sticks are getting smaller and smaller, but the packaging is the same. So you can actually see like there's more, like it used to be equal number of like spacing at the top and bottom of the cheese stick. Now there's like a good inch and a half of nothing. I was just like, they just keep making the cheese stick smaller, and because no one wants to. And this is well known. Like if you look it up, they've been doing this everywhere. Like they constantly,
because you get a sticker shock when the price goes up, but you don't when you're getting less. Even if you look and you see that you're getting less, and you're actually paid attention, and like, this is definitely less, that is costing more per cheese, you're still more okay with it psychologically. It's really weird, but it's totally true. We had a super chat from Mike Saltzman, who is a seller of RPG books, who says, as a seller, we won't carry Wizards products because they say it's $60 and then sell it to people on their own Amazon for $25. MSRP doesn't mean much to WoTC. Is what Mike Saltzman says. And honestly, if you're looking at that Amazon price, which I also put into the things that I was looking at, if you're looking at the Amazon price, then in that case, D&D 5th edition hardcover books, ignoring inflation, actually had the best price per word of any of the D&D things. If the others are their cover price, but 5th edition is at the Amazon price, because Wizards didn't have their own Amazon back then. They kind of just was still sold for less on Amazon.
By the way,
because D&D Rules Cyclopedia, there was not an Amazon back then that was selling that for less, even though it was nearly as good of a deal as D&D 5th on Amazon. It was just weirdly the best one.
Sonia, they also said Oreo puts 8 less cookies in the same packaging. By the way, I'll tell you who really puts it is, and I know for a fact because I get them every year. Take a look at Girl Scout cookies, because Girl Scout cookies, now that's for charity, so that's fine, but they kept the boxes more or less the same. So, but everything they put in a lot less cookies for the same boxes. The packaging has gone down, and
because you're used to what the packaging in the boxes look like.
So they put in less now. And now look, this is not something new. You say that if people says, "Oh, they've been doing this for like 25 years," it's nothing new. But you know what? It actually kind of is, because back in the 90s. There used to be this thing called supersize, where everything was huge. It was the other way around. I remember
that. And they always wanted you to supersize it, and they would only charge a little bit extra for it so that you would do it.
Right. So everything was supersized, and everything was bigger. And in fact, there's a documentary, the famous one called Supersize Me, that was the beginning of the end, where there was this guy, I forgot his name, Murtlock? Murtlock is that he just for 1 year did nothing but eat McDonald's food. And the rule was whenever, or was it a month? I don't know. It was, I think, for a month, but every single day he would eat McDonald's food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner to see what would happen. And what he did is whenever they asked him if he would supersize, he would say yes. By the way, supersize is not large, okay? No. Supersize, they made fun of it on Parks and Rec. Supersize used to be like small, medium, large, like it was gigantic, okay? It was like 3 larges combined, okay? It was a month. Yeah, it was a month. The point is that there was a big change in philosophy of like, wait a second, why are we giving out this food for free? Another good example, I said this earlier, was the $5 footlong. $5 footlong from Subway actually is infamous. They lost a lot of money from that. And now they're $12. You know, like they went back up. They were like, wait, why are we charging so little? Because they thought they would get people in.
And did they not at least make money using the lost leader, or was it such a lost leader that they lost money overall?
Yeah, and the other thing is even like diet. Like I noticed for a fact because like I drink Diet Coke pretty much exclusively. A lot, and so Diet Coke I would always get it for 99 cents for 2 liters. They're all, and then most it was $1.99. Now it's $2.99 everywhere. I never see. It's always never on sale anymore. That used to be a big loss leader. So the whole thing were ridiculous. The point is that people have gotten very smart. A lot of this has to do with automation. A lot of this has to do with the new analytics. Is that they're able to really figure out the price points. Now I don't know if WoTC did this, but they've been doing this for airlines. If you've been noticing, airline tickets have gone way up because they literally have been able to price airline tickets to the decimal place of what supply and demand is. So that's why they're expensive, because they're like, well, that is what people are willing to pay, as opposed to where they were just guessing before. And people are willing to pay a lot more now because that's what they are. So the same thing with a lot of these items is that they're getting very, very good with getting real-time statistics, real-time data of what people are buying. They can change the pricing on the fly, even at restaurants, to figure out the perfect price point for what the demand and supply is.
I think that's why food has gone up by a higher percentage. Like coffee, yes. You gave as an example, that's actually gone up by, I looked it up, 10 times price since 1974, while inflation only went up by 6 times.
Because also coffee is the number one profit thing like in the world. It's like 99% profit. Which is why like Starbucks, everyone's like, and they're like, wait a second. It's like it's all profit. It's all profit. So that's why there's so many coffee shops, because they make so much profit. They don't need to do that well to stay open. And it's really quite amazing.
That makes sense of why you have Starbucks across from a Starbucks.
Yeah. So anyhow,
Reach the Promise End sent a super chat. WoTC had air in the bag like Lay's chips.
My point is that every other industry has gotten very sharp and very smart on how to do this pricing. And it's just taking a while for book manufacturers to catch up. But I hate to break it to you that your books they're going to start getting more expensive. Because A, it's what the market will bear. And B, it's very expensive, these books. Like, it just is. I mean, these books can cost $50,000 to $100,000 each to make. So I'm talking about...
And if you're making $10 a book, are you really going to be sure you can sell 5,000 to 10,000 of them? Because that's... If you're not a really successful Kickstarter or something like that, that can be tough.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't hear about it a lot, but there are third-party smaller companies that have gone out of business because they bought art that was too good for the amount of sales they had.
Yeah, I mean, it's the digital content. That's where it is at. Yeah, that's where the digital content is where it's at, because you can reuse your content. And in fact, if it wasn't for the digital content, I believe most Kickstarters and most books you'll see, they would have all gone away. Like it would be like 1/50th of what it is now, maybe even 1/100th. Because
at least the Kickstarter, you get a higher percentage of the take.
Well, yeah, but my point is that you make so little money on physical books at this point. Like I'm not getting rid of physical books, but I think about it a lot. I do think about it a lot, because the pricing for physical books is so much and such a huge percentage of where your costs go. And you just don't sell that many books anymore. And it's going to start happening pretty soon. It's already happened, with like the online markets, where even the biggest people might not be selling physical books anymore. Now, I get it. A lot of people want physical books. You like to have your physical books. Talk about, okay, I got all my physical books here, and it's really nice, and you can pull out your Impossible Lands and all that. But you can't have it both ways. Like, if you're going to want physical books, they're going to be expensive. They're going to be $60. They might even be 70. And I'm not talking about for a special book. I'm talking about for this book. This book is going to be $60, okay? And that's what it costs. And even that is barely making any money. Okay? It's just, for these to be making money, these should be $100. Okay? I know no one wants to hear that. That's how much these books should be.
The problem is that I don't know if the market will bear that much because of the sticker shock. That is a really big and scary issue for the tabletop industry. Mm-hmm. And look, when I say there are companies that go out of business or that lose money on things, I'm not just talking about like a new company that just started and they who knows what they're going to do. I'm talking about third parties that have been around for a while in Pathfinder 1 or 3.5 times. I'm talking about I saw on Twitter, Jason Bowman, the director of game design at Paizo, put out his own third-party product that did not break even, or only did if he just ignored any of his labor into it, which was most of the labor. But it made money over the art cost, but he didn't even make basically minimum wage on any of his own labor time for putting out the product. It's a scary and tricky situation. By the way, for the whole industry.
Print on demand. People are saying print on demand is triple. Print on demand is insanely expensive. The only reason you do print on demand,
doesn't the printer take more like 30 per book on a print on demand for something the size of that Kingmaker book?
It's extremely expensive. The only reason you do print on demand is so if you go to a professional printer, you basically have to print 1,000 books. You could probably get away with 500, but the bare minimum is 500. If you need to print 100 books, then you do print on demand. You need 200 books, and you do print on demand, because then it's about the same costs. It just is. But there's disadvantages with, print on demand is extremely expensive. It's only good for very small quantities, and that's it. I really don't know what I don't know what
there's probably not a magic bullet solution to this.
No, there is no magic.
That's why it's such an interesting topic.
Well, and to me, it's kind of a depressing topic.
It's a scary topic because I love this industry, but I want to make sure that people are aware of this. And I also want to make sure when I was quoting those costs per word, understand that was without inflation. When I was quoting them, it was without inflation when I was saying that the Pathfinder book is a lower cost per word than anything that ever came out for the D&D set except the Rules Cyclopedia. That was the best one. If you include inflation, these things are massively less expensive than they were before by just a huge amount, because the prices they are just actually lower right now than they were in the past. And that's not what I expected when I first started looking into this, which I admit was not just this week when this topic came up, but was a while ago when I was at Paizo and other people at Paizo were talking about it. But I was flabbergasted because I was thinking it was more like, the prices probably just stayed the same per word or went up by very slowly, and inflation went up much faster. But they actually are lower, and you're getting more expensive color art, and you're getting all these other things.
Yeah, that's something else. I buy a lot. I buy pretty much everything. If you look at my Kickstarter, you'll be like, oh, Steve backed it. I back everything just because I want to see. And right now, I get a lot of books, but I'll be honest, they might look really good, and they might even have fantastic layouts. But then you count the amount of art in there, and I can tell which pieces of art come from iStock Photo and other photo, stock places, which are very cheap. You can get those for just a couple bucks each, which is fine and legal. There's a lot of people who do that. Completely legal. That's what it's for. And they will only have 10, 20 pieces of art in the book, because art alone, I put it this way, a standard book, you got to figure one book, a regular book, costs bare minimum $50,000 to make. $50,000 to make even the lowest level RPG book of like this quality, of like standard quality that I consider like, you know, like a
And how long?
like a book like this.
How many pages? How many pages?
200
Would that be the
pages.
dragon book? Like
yeah,
the
like 200
128?
pages. No, like
200?
Like a 200-page book. Say 50,000.
So 200-page book has 100 spreads. So already your art budget on that is, and you've got the cover art, which is worth more. Your art budget on that is pretty high.
Well, you figure art budget alone will probably be, depending on how much art you put in it. But there,
yeah,
you know,
if it's a bestiary, it'd be even higher, right? Because you have an art almost every page.
Yes, bestiaries are very expensive. So, you know, the point is like this stuff is really, really expensive to make, and people don't seem to really realize it. And if you look at some of the old books, like the first edition books, they don't have that much art. And let me tell you, one of the reasons this stuff, I think the old school Renaissance, these type of books, you know, like the Dungeon Crawl Classics do well, is like this is a 2-page spread. I know what this costs. This 2-page spread probably cost at most $400. Okay, a 2-page in black and white, a 2-page spread in color. This could be $1,800. So, you know, I'm like these black and white pictures, I'm not downplaying them. Like these these spot arts can be $30, $20. You know, it's like this stuff is just way cheaper. And that's also, I mean, I guarantee now these books are less expensive too. These books are maybe 10, 15, 20 books each.
They are, but when I actually have some of the retro clone books in the same price check, and they have fewer words per page.
They're very small.
They often, many of them have only like 400 to 500 words per page, like Swords and Wizardry, or 7 Voyages of Zilarthan, or Blueholm, will have a fewer number of words per page. So even though you look at it and you're like, well, I got 300 pages for like for 7 Voyages for like $34.75, it's actually still more expensive per word than the D&D 5th edition starter set was when that came out, and they at around the same time as each other. Granted, Osric was fit a lot of words per page and was ridiculous value at $15.70 for a 404-page book.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying people are saying Dungeon. There's a lot of, if you look very closely at any of your products, and depending on who's publishing it, because this is what I do, I look at things very differently. I'm counting the number of pieces of art and the sizes of the pieces of the art, which, say what you will about Paizo, these books,
they're gorgeous.
I know how much they spent on this book. This book alone, the art budget was probably $100,000. Easy. Just
how many pages is Impossible Ones again?
I can't believe
it's like 300 pages, right?
How much? Yeah, there are, I don't, because they use the same artists I do. I knew exactly what they're paying for every one of these, and there's no difference in pricing. Trust me.
I'm guessing the art budget might have been under that, but not by much.
Not by much. I think it's. I was a little exaggerating, but I know what, because here's what it is. It's 338 pages.
Oh yeah, so it's even more than 300 pages. Yeah.
By the way, so
you got the cover art. That's already very expensive.
Cover art could be about $2,000. A full page piece is about $900. Per piece.
A half page is usually like 400 to 500.
400 to 500,
and then a full body is going to be 2 to 3.
No, it's anywhere from 150 to 200.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess it also depends on how much detail you require. Each of these half
pages, that's $400 a pop. That's $400. I'm like, okay, that's $900 right there. Okay, and that's $300. $450. That's, by the way, about $500. It could be more. So there's another $400 there. I'm like, every page I'm looking, I'm like, okay, this was $600 of art. Here's $300 of art. Here's $300 of art. Like every page I'm going through. Okay, here's $550 of art. $550 of art. Like I go through these very differently. That's $400 worth of art. that's $1,050 worth of art. I'm like, these books are unbelievable. Like you're averaging $400 to $500.
Yeah, they're averaging $400 to $500
per spread, per 2 pages
per spread, and the number of spreads in that when it's 336 pages would mean that that is already around 70,000. And we didn't take into account the cover, and we didn't take into account the intro may have had like a 2-page.
I'm not talking about the printing thing. And talking about their company.
We're only talking about the art budget.
Yeah.
We're only talking about the art budget.
Yeah. Art is expensive. So when you see our books, okay, we do the same thing Paizo does with all of our art.
So not only do we do the same thing Paizo does in the Dragon book, but I just want to highlight the eccentricity of Steven's order for the adventure, Jewel of the Indigo Isles, where he vastly ordered more art than Paizo would by getting like every NPC that was named got a piece of art. It is the most deluxe adventure you'll ever see, probably because he's not going to do that again now that he has actually ordered that much art.
Yep. Now, the reason why other people can do it is because they're actually reselling you their adventure in a different format, which I am fine with. I have
I think that's okay.
Problem whatsoever rebuying something like the Kingmaker book.
Look, I love the anniversary edition. I love the conversion of Kingmaker. Yeah. By the way, Steven, never attempt to underplay the amount of work that Kingmaker conversion was. Dude, it's not just a product in a different format.
How much this was, because I heard, you know who was going to be on our show in a couple of weeks? Wait, who did Kingmaker?
Well, if you're talking about who did the most work on the conversion, it would be James Jacobs. But if you're talking about who did some of the initial gathering of people to do some of the early passes of work, that would be Legendary Games. So,
Legendary Games,
who were run by Jason Nelson.
Oh my God, I don't know how Jason is smaller than us. I talk to Jason all the time. He makes us look bad because he gets so many books out. I don't know how he does it.
Because he converts things just like you were saying. He converts things from other books, and he has a stable of people who he's paying a percentage of the sales for, who will pitch him a book and then just write it. And then I've written for him. I have products under his line like Ultimate Relationships.
Oh, really?
And then generally it's passed around to the other authors if they want to comment on it, but there's not necessarily a big development pass. It just it gets laid out and goes out.
By the way,
as is.
So here's our secret. I didn't even tell you this. On June 7th, in 2 weeks. You know who's joining us?
Who?
James L. Sutter.
Okay, he was not involved in the conversion process, but he is awesome. And I want to hang out with him.
Yeah, he is. He's not in this one. I couldn't remember if he was part of this or not, but he is a legend in the in the game community.
He was the first creative director for Starfinder. And if anyone has ever heard the story of how for like 20 to 30 minutes of one day, Starfinder used charisma for will saves, and then it went back to wisdom again and never changed again, that was because I was in a conversation with James Sutter, and he approved the change, and then everybody else was like, wait, don't do it. It was hilarious.
Okay. Well, anyhow, he's a legend, and he came to me asking if he could be on the show.
Okay, cool.
And I said, fine. And he booked us way ahead of time. So
he came to us in advance. He's actually also like one of the most viral tweeters like in the tabletop RPG space that I've seen.
Yeah, he tweets.
He went viral like recently for like talking about sending things out for bees, and he also did one where he made fun of like the map of New Orleans.
That one is genius.
That's so good.
That is a genius, because he's like this map doesn't make any sense. And people were like, you're right, it doesn't, but it does. I have a whole thing on maps I could get into, but that's a whole other topic. Well, we got a lot of people. By the way, if you do a super chat, we didn't even mention this. Do like us. We don't have that many likes, so help get the algorithm going. Do give us super chats, we'll always answer them. Otherwise, I scan your things and I kind of see it.
Speaking of which, there are 2 super chats.
Yeah, there's 2 super chats.
Said, is the cost any cheaper for art that's digital? I'd imagine it isn't.
Nope.
Is it that they can sell so much more PDFs? How did they not lose money on PDFs? Is it simply a number game? So Steven gave you the costs, but with PDFs, that same, if you sell the PDF, let's say instead of for $50, like Steven gave in the example, let's say the PDF was $40. And then you don't have to pay the 10, and you don't, and you get most of the 40. So you're actually making over twice as much.
I'm going to tell you right now, PDFs are saving
3 times as much.
PDFs are saving the industry. If it wasn't for PDFs, this industry would have died a long time ago. You will sell anywhere from 4 to 10 to even 20 PDFs per hardcover.
So, and at a better margin.
At a much better margin. That's,
we couldn't afford to do what we did if it wasn't for PDFs.
No, if I wouldn't be doing this. In fact, and that's fine, because a lot of people are fine with the PDFs, because like I like physical books just to have them, but I only use PDFs. I never, ever, I have not used a physical book in 12 years, to be honest. I once I went PDF, I never went back. And it's cheaper. I like the digital aspect. I like being able to tear apart a PDF and putting it into a VTT. I like tearing it apart and then handing it out to my players because we play online. And, also, quite frankly, they are usually, although that's starting to change too, they're usually cheaper than the hardcover book, but not always. And that is a two-edged sword, and that's what the OGL was all about. Remember, they were fighting tooth and nail against digital. They were fighting tooth and nail. Yeah,
they wanted to control digital, and they didn't care as much about the print. Because
they know
where the money was.
Yeah, all the money was in digital. They couldn't care less about print. Like, you can print as much as you want. I'm like, yes, it'll all go out of business.
I think that's not completely true, Stephen. They care about print to the amount that they would need to care about it because of tradition and the number of fans they know will get upset if there wasn't print, at least as a collector's edition style thing.
Well, PDFs themselves die as a format. It's old and clunky. It is, however, it depends how the PDFs are set up, because that even happened to me. So when I first put out my PDF for the Battles Through Bestiary, we didn't have indexing. I didn't have bookmarks. I didn't have any of that. And people were like, wait, why don't you have all this? Why don't you have all this? I'm like, because I didn't know. Because I don't use that. I use Command F. That is my way I use PDFs. I'm like, Command F, find what I need. That's all I do. I'm just constantly doing this. And then this is how stupid I am. You want to hear how dumb I am? What I do, when I run my society, not my society, here's my Agents of Edgewatch. I
print the PDF?
I have the module. No, this isn't it. But I have a module right here. This is not the module. But I get the PDF, and then I print it out because I mark these up, because I mark up my pages, and I'll put notes all over. These are not marked up.
I can't say I've never done that.
I'll show you my marked up ones.
I can tell you that I've only done it when I was at college and had a nearly unlimited number of free printing.
Well, look, like you can see, here's all my notes. Like, I do a lot of redlining, and I do a lot of underlining. Here, like, look at this one page. Like, I have notes all over it. So that's how I run. And this is pretty much the whole book printed out. And I even have like notes and stick-its. So like, this is how I do it. I'm not going to do that on my printed copy. I'm just not. And I don't like to do it. It's too slow for me to do it on the digital PDF. I know a lot of people who do it right in the PDF and they'll add notes, but like, here's like all my notes: resistant to physical weaknesses. Like, I write down the weaknesses and the physicals because sometimes I forget. So I always, I just do that, but that's how I do it. So I do the combo. But now everyone does it a little differently. Now, I like to have the books mostly for you guys for 2 reasons. One, for the show, because I like to go here and pull things out. Everyone's amazed that I have everything. It's actually kind of amazing. I have
That is pretty
I have
cool.
almost every book. You name a book, I seem to have it at my fingertips. For somehow, I seem to have every book here. That's one thing. The other thing is I do reference them for my own design purposes. I like the funny thing is I just got the Tales of the Valiant PDF, and
Hmm.
first thing I said to Mark was, "Oh, the design's great."
Yeah, you always
I didn't
look at the
even read.
layout.
I didn't even read it. Yeah, I'm like, the design looks great. I love the design. Like, to me, that's the first thing I look at.
There you go.
So I'm very much a design whore. Um,
So it looks like there was another super chat
there
from Mike
was.
Saltzman who said, literally hand illustrating and designing a dice set while listening to this. I have 20 hours of work in, another 20 to go. Not cheap, not quick, not easy. Absolutely. And by the way, when we were talking before about how expensive art is, that is never meant to say that it's too expensive or that artists aren't making enough. In fact, I know artists can struggle because they're spending a lot of time on each of those pieces.
Mhm.
It is to indicate that paying a fair amount to artists, or even an amount that many artists have said needs to rise over time, is already very difficult for smaller publishers to do. And it's a very tricky situation where, like, everybody wants to see artists and writers doing better, but it's tough because of the margins and the prices and the way that they have not overall gone up for inflation at all since 1974.
So, by the way, what do I think of Tales of the Valiant? I love the layout. The art is actually done by one of my favorite artists. He did about 10 monsters in Strange and Unusual. He did the goblin, the circus goblin troupe, which is,
Oh yeah, that one was cool.
that's one of my favorite pieces. Like, he is really, really good. I like his work a lot. He's got sort of a softness to it, so I do like the colors. They did some very smart things here. I know this sounds crazy, but I am in the Steve Jobs school of design. Form equals function. Like, design is a big part of why you like products one over another, even if you don't realize why. It has nothing to do with the content, okay? Because design, to me, is much more important, especially for, these are considered technical manuals, and it's very important that you do. Look, how often do I ask you about design questions, Mark? Like, probably every other day. Not every day, but about every other day, especially when I'm starting to do stuff, because I want to know exactly how it should look, because you use that to make sure that everything is consistent. They do a very good job with the design. Now, I haven't read it, but it looks interesting. It looks like a good mix of looks like they took some stuff from Pathfinder, and looks like they're kind of doing a Pathfinder 5e mix, I would say. It's hard to say because I haven't played it yet. I did sign up for some Tales of the Valiant games at Gen Con, so I'm going to get to try it.
That should be fun.
Yeah, I'm actually it's actually the only RPG I signed up for. Oh no, I did sign up for DCC.
Yeah, well, I know that you've been a big fan of them for a long time.
It's hard to get into those games. It is fun. It was very hard to get in. Everything is gone, by the way. However, I don't know how my talk is going. If you guys want to see me, I got the prime time too. I got Saturday at noon, which is like,
how close are you to filling up? I know the other OGL one is getting close.
Mine was pretty close. It's it doesn't really matter because keep in mind anyone could walk in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people just do it sometimes just to block it out of their schedule, because once you put it on your schedule, you can't book something else.
Yeah, I've seen that before when I was running panels where most of the people who actually booked it didn't show up at all.
Yeah. And so, I mean, let's see how many people. How to take down $1 billion company in 3 easy steps. And I know for a fact, because I told Linda the title, because then they tried to one-up my title. 46 tickets are left. Theirs, which they went a little bit more risque than I did, theirs is what WTF happened with Dungeons and Dragons OGL?
Oh, that's hilarious.
So like they and I have been a little fight over who can come up with the better title.
I think both of them are good titles,
they're
but
good titles. Yeah,
their title is more indicative of what it's actually about, because you'll know that it's about that controversy. And with yours, it's like, well, what company is this? If someone doesn't know, they won't know. But I think yours is more playful, and I like it. Other than that, since I do know what it's about, I like it more.
Yeah, and you're not going to wander into it. Also, we kept ours away from each other. Hers is, sorry, I keep saying her. Theirs is Saturday at 2 p.m. Mine is Saturday at noon. We coordinated to make sure we were nowhere near each other, because we're talking about the same subject and different methods. I'm going to talk about it because there was a lot that happened. Like, we actually started talking about the OGL last Gen Con with me and some of the other publishers. So I'm going to tell you everything. And I believe
there was fear and worry that was from long before that. That was rumbling in the distance.
There was rumblings, and we were planning stuff way before this happened. And believe it or not, supposedly Ryan Dancy said he would join me. So I can probably get Ryan. I can probably get Ryan and probably Derek if he's not busy as moderator. So we'll see.
So we have another super chat from Mirtos.
Less likely to have the Pinkertons buy tickets. To be waiting.
Oh no!
Yeah, dude, have them come. Come for me. Go right ahead. I don't care, man.
You're not afraid of them?
I'm not
They're
afraid.
Like really dangerous organization.
No.
So Mirtos sent a super chat that said, "As a creator, what's your opinion of someone buying PDFs and spending their own money on print on demand, like Lulu or something that doesn't go to the creator, but also the cost is only on the user?"
You can do that. In fact, I have no problem with that. The guys at Knights of Last Call, you know what they did? When the PDF came out, when the PDF came out with Battles of Bestiary, the first one, and they reviewed it, they printed it out and went to Kinko's and had it bound.
There you go.
So they can use it in their game. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what I do. I actually print out books all the time. I used to do that. But back in the days, I used to print out books and bind them at Kinko so I can write in them. And I'd rather do that. And plus, I could tear out pages and put them back because I had one of those binders that you could open and close. So I rather do that. And do you remember, Mark, the Dungeons and Dragons books, the monster manuals that actually came in that white binder? And then you actually put the pages in. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was
didn't
second
own
edition.
Those, but I do remember them.
Terrible design. Why? You don't do a white binder. You know how dirty those things get?
Yeah.
And it looked bad, too. That's bad design. That's very early 80s, 90s design, by the way. It looks clean and gross. But anyhow, it's... I like that, and I think it's fine. It's fine. You can... Look, as long as you're buying it, you do whatever you want with it, man. You know, like the thing is the amount of money they make on the PDF and the amount of money they make on the book is kind of the same in the end. It's also, I don't have to deal with shipping. I don't have to deal with international. I don't have to deal with customers nearly as much. I don't have to deal with returns. I don't have to deal with books getting lost, books getting damaged. I mean, there's a lot of things with physical products that you just do not have to do with digital products. And you know, we keep saying it's like these $60 books, I hate to break it to you, books are going to become collector's items. They just are. Okay, they're just going to become something that you can collect once in a while. But now let me ask you this, because someone said to me their biggest issue was that it's going to cost $180 for the 3 core books for D&D now. With tax, we'll say $200. So is $200 too much to buy 3 core books for D&D? I'm not talking about Pathfinder or anything else. What do you think, Mark?
So if we assume that it's going to be...
We assume it's going to be $60 for each of those.
Let's assume that it has the same number of words as it currently does. I know they said they're remixing what's in it. Same amount of art. Let's pretend it was exactly the same books, and it now costs 60 instead of 50 for each one, and it goes up to 180, right? Mm-hmm. So in that case, then they have gone down from being more efficient than Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition to being less efficient than Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition in price before inflation. So they have gone back to a more expensive per word model if we just completely ignore inflation altogether. Personally, to me, it depends on like the quality of the pages, the books, the art, what we're getting. The 5th edition core books seemed like they had a lot more than some of their more recent books in that regard, but of course they're doing it again, so we don't know what they're going to do there. I would say that in general, I'd want to see what they are producing for that. But I do think it will be good for everyone else that Wizards is charging that much, because they won't get price checked against Dungeons and Dragons, and people be like, why is yours so much more than the Dungeons and Dragons books?
See, at $200 though, the people are like, oh, it's $200. First of all, I mean, I go to baseball games, I go to things. I mean, $200 is nothing. I mean, that's what it costs to go to these games. Forget about if you want to go to Broadway. I mean, a Broadway show. If you want to go to a Broadway show, now I know not everyone's going to Broadway shows. It's $1,000. Okay, it's just $1,000. Okay,
it's just things that back in the old days people could do, and you would be like, "This is a common thing that people do," and then nowadays, like a higher percentage of people just can't or very rarely do. Like I know a lot of people went to sports games regularly.
Yes,
back when I was growing up. Yeah, but now, it's pretty expensive.
It's very expensive, and it's
gone down to become
often.
More of a core fan group.
Right. It's right. It used to be lots of people doing it once in a time too.
Yes.
Now what's happening, I think, in our society is that these prices are going up because they are looking to just appeal to the people who are willing to pay for that. And they know it because they're like, okay, we'll get 10,000 people willing to pay $100, or will we get 100,000 people willing to pay $10? Probably not. So let's just get those core people and just call it a day. And you know where this happened? I mean, I'm a bigger sports fan than you. So football, okay? Football, this is very recent. Football used to have, for a longest time, okay, waiting lists. So back in, not even that long ago, back in, well, I guess it's a little longer now. Back in the 90s, in the early 2000s, I used to go to Jet games. I was a Jet fan. Still am a Jet fan. And I know, feel sorry for me. But anyhow, the Jets, I would get tickets for $40, $60. And there's only 8 games a year. And those were good seats. Okay, now, yes, inflation, maybe it was $100, but still, they're not that expensive. But here's the thing, get this, Mark. There was a 20-year waiting list to get season tickets for professional football. Sometimes
I'm not surprised. I know there used to be a waiting list back in the day.
Well, then they said, wait a second. Hold on. And
they said the demand was high.
Right. Then they go, wait, why are we charging so little for these seats? So this is what they did. First of all, They raised the prices to hundreds of dollars per ticket. Second of all, they did a thing called a seat fee. So the very first time you get the tickets, you have to pay like $5,000 per ticket as a one-time fee. And then you get to keep that forever. Okay, that's new. That was a revolutionary idea. And then you have to buy a parking pass, and a parking pass could be $100 to $200 to $500 or more per game. So suddenly,
plus amenities once you get there.
Yes. So suddenly,
that used to be where they got a lot of their money.
Your $60 ticket went to $400 per ticket per game, plus $100 in parking, plus a one-time fee of $5,000 per ticket. And then they started to go through the wait list. Well, there's no more wait list. I promise you that. That's gone. That wait list has been gone for a long time.
Our society is just pricing people out of the things that we were used to people doing growing up. And I know we talked about Disney World being one of those things in a previous episode.
Yes.
And I like what there was a hotel that they just discontinued that was like $5,000 for a 2-night stay in the cheapest room.
Yes. Now that was, I actually wanted to do that. It was Galaxy's Edge. But you know what it is? So Disney's interesting because I haven't been there in a while, but the way Disney does their pricing, so I'm totally making this up, but it used to be like, okay, if you stay for 1 day, it's $100. If you stay for 2 days, it's $190. If you stay for 3 days, it's $270. But if you stay for 4 days, it's $273. And then if you stay for 5 days, it's like $275. Like, they know most people will only stay for 1 to 3 days, because then after 4 or 5, it was like $5. And I remember that I'm like, what? I was like, because we were like, let's just stay 4 or 5 days, or you just get the 5-day pass and maybe use it, because you're already planning. So what we would do is you get the 5-day pass and then you're there for a week. And so you go to Disney maybe 1 or 2 days, and then you go to Universal, and then we would come home and Disney's open to midnight, and then we'd go to Disney because we still had another day. And it was only like $3. So there we go. Like, they're getting so good with pricing that they know exactly what supply and demand is to the penny. And I don't know if our society can really handle that level of accuracy. It's like our society has actually been built with inaccuracy built in. It's actually another pandemic that's been happening. So Val's dad works in retail, and the amount of people that come in and steal from Nordstrom's in these stores is astronomical. It's been very high. And I don't mean like they pickpocket. They literally come in, take it, and walk out. Like, they don't even bother. They just walk right out. And because it's very cheap and no one's going to go after them. The workers don't care. And a lot of this has to do with the ability to get things cheaper. And because of issues like subscription rates, I know this sounds crazy. I'm going somewhere with this. For example, you used to maybe be able to get a lot of things for free or cheap, or like how many people share their Netflix accounts and do all that stuff. Well, you can't no longer get a cell phone without paying for it. Like, you have to pay for your cell phone. You can't get a cell phone for free. Okay, there are costs. Like, it's impossible. Like, maybe in the old days you used to be able to get away with things like that. Stealing software. Okay, Adobe would spend millions of dollars to try to fight pirates. That's all gone because it's subscription based. Like, Adobe used to cost $1,000 for Photoshop, and that's what it cost because they were fighting pirates. Now it's $9.99 a month because they don't care, because everything's a subscription, and that's gone. Like, good luck trying to find these things pirated. Like, everything is now, even video games, like, everything's subscription based. So because people were stealing stuff, the piracy and free income was built in to the structure. And now, because that doesn't exist anymore, people have to figure out other ways to get stuff for free, either by stealing it outright or figuring out how to get it for cheaper. Which brings me back to this point of books being $60, is that it is good for the industry because that's what they cost to make. But I guarantee, I bet you the amount of books getting purchased is going to go down. Okay, I don't think it's going to go up. I think it's going to go down. And here's the thing. I don't think WoTC cares, because they want everyone to go digital, and they want everyone to go digital on their platform where they will make all their money.
I think that the number of overall books being purchased probably will go down, just because D&D is so big that if you have a situation where it's like they lose 5% of people because of the price increase, and then other third-party companies see a 20% uptick because of price matching being more favorable, that would still have sales be going down, because Wizards is just such a King Kong-sized imprint on the percentage of overall books.
Yeah. I mean, this is just the way it is. Now, where do we fall in all of this? Because we're a publisher. So, look, Our books are $50 to $60 each. Okay. But, and there's a big but here. We work very, very hard to make sure our stuff is of the top quality, of the best of the best. The best of the best of the best. I don't even think best of the best is good enough for our stuff. It has to be the best, like top quality. And I go through a lot of pain to make sure we have top art. I've redone art many times that I'm not happy with. I once redid one 3 times because I did not like how the original art or even the replacement art came out. And I had it done again.
Plus, our first printing always includes a full errata set. Yeah. So that you're not going to get the first printing and then immediately find out there's a large errata set for the second printing.
Right. So we're very careful. And even little things like, this is no big, this small thing. We came out with the Foundry module. One bug that was found, and just one image was not linked. That's it. That's all we had. Okay. I'm pretty proud of that. Okay, as a software developer, like I'm pretty proud that we did a really good job with that development, and we're adding some new stuff and going to make it. People ask for music. Good thing one of my best friends is a music composer, so I'm going to ask him and get some stuff.
Oh yeah, have you gotten in touch with him on that?
No, actually, people have been asking. I've just been too busy. But Mike, I'll get in touch with Mike Shapiro. He's the guy who played through all 3 adventure paths, remember? From beginning to end. He played through, remember I told you Eric Mona's? He played through, he's the guy. So, yeah, I'll get some if he does this type of...
So he's not only a musician, but he really understands...
Oh, yeah, he's a hardcore geek.
Exactly what's going on here. So he's going to know what kind of music is good for playing in the background of an adventure more than someone who is maybe a more famous composer, but like never played games.
Now, someone like myself, I don't play music in my games, so I never really thought about it, and no one ever brought it up in any of our testing. So this is like, it's easy enough to fix. Someone else actually did say, could you redo all your maps? And I was like, no. I was like, no, we're not. Sorry. I'm like, there's some things I will do. I will not do that. My point is that I think people will pay large amounts or maybe higher amounts if they feel they get very good value for their money and if they are guaranteed. Like a good example of this is Rockstar, Nintendo, Blizzard in the day, BioWare in the day. Right now, like The Legend of Zelda, so that went to $70 recently. And there was a lot of controversy over, wow, this is the first $70 game by Nintendo. Was it worth it? Will you pay $70 for a video game now? Because that's becoming. The answer is yes, because the quality is astronomical. I mean, does it really make that much of a difference if it was a $60 game? The thing is, and people said this, like, they probably could have charged $200 for the Zelda game, and it probably would have sold nearly as well as it did now. It definitely would not have sold the 10 million copies that it sold in like the first 2 or 3 days. Maybe it would have only sold 8 million copies, but it would have sold because the quality of what you're getting is so ridiculously high and so good, it's worth the $70. Which on the other side, you have, Redfall, which came out, which was a first-party game by Xbox, and that was $70, and that is an absolute piece of crap. And people are losing their minds because it's supposed to be a first-party video game made by Xbox and Bethesda and made by top-quality people, so they're charging $70, and you're getting garbage. Which is bringing me back to my point, is that in this analogy, I'd say Paizo books and Battlezoo books are the Nintendo in this analogy, and the Xbox right now and is the WoTC in this analogy, because until they get the quality of their books back up to standard, yes, they're charging $60. Yes, it's good for the industry. Yes, it's charging a lot, but it's weird that they put in all this money to make the book, and they're putting in hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then they cheap out on the last mile, the last inches of
Yeah, it is
printing
really
the
weird.
freaking book. Like, that's
I
what
know
you're cheaping out
it can make a
on?
lot of difference in how much
Whoops.
money they get per book. It can. Like the example you gave where you said Paizo probably made $10 off of the book that you were holding up when you did all the calculations.
Yeah.
If they had bought the most expensive one that you bought that would have cost $2 more or something like that, that would have cut out 20% of all of their proceeds per book at that point. So I can see why at some point you might not buy the highest one, but I feel like when you've got that many sales and you've got digital as your main leaders anyway, so that the books themselves are not as necessary, then why would you cheat? Why don't you should make it a collector's edition that everyone is proud to have on their shelf. And if you have to charge more, of course, but it should be for something that's quality that people feel great about having. That's my opinion. Is prices need to go up, but that doesn't mean that you can just scrimp on the quality and still put the prices up. And they may not need to go up as much for Wizards because they sell a much higher volume of books.
Let's see.
Chase Street says if Wizards books were video games, they would be more like Pong compared to Pathfinder and Zelda, Battle Zoo being the Zelda game.
I like to think so.
I don't know about that. I feel like that's a little bit.
I think it's
too
Pong.
different.
I think it's a little harsh, but I know what you're getting at. Is that, you know what it is? Well, I'll tell you, he's not wrong. Okay, here's the issue. When you think of D&D and you think of a very quality, you're thinking, okay, the industry leader, quality product. When you look at it, okay, this is a bad example because this is actually a very well done book. This book looks great. It's a beautiful book, beautifully well done. It's like it's just a very well done, pretty book. It actually is bound well, good paper, good binding. This one's solid. Back when they were still doing stuff, it has a nice imprinted map at the back, solid, thick, great. That's what you expect. You're like industry leader. This stuff is going to be awesome. It's like buying an Apple product. Like, yeah, it's expensive, but you expect it to be of the top, best quality. And that's the problem, is that you start charging $70, and then you get a book and it's falling apart, or the paper sucks, or the adventure sucks, and you're like, well, why am I spending all this money? Like, why? Okay, and that could be the death of a brand. That's the problem, is that they can charge $70. I don't think people are arguing it's $70. I think they're arguing it's $70 for a WoTC book, because they don't feel like they're worth the $70.
60 in this case.
Sorry, 60. Yeah. Well, I see 70. Yeah. Sorry, 70 is my mind.
We keep saying 70 because of the Zelda game.
Because of the Zelda game. Well, because video games have gone up to 70 now. Now, someone actually said something in here, and I want to bring this out because there's a very interesting point, okay? Someone said that they bought Mega Man. Where's that Mega Man comment? There we say. Mike wrote, video games are dirt cheap by historical. I paid $95 for Mega Man X3 back in 1998. Yeah, well, I got one even crazier than that. I bought Warcraft, okay? How much do you think the
original Warcraft Orcs and Humans
video game Warcraft, which I bought in it wasn't Electronics Boutique. I forgot.
Was it Babbage's back then?
No, it wasn't Babbage's. It was it was one of those computer stores. Oh, CompUSA. That was it.
CompUSA, yeah, that's another one.
Remember them?
That's
I bought it, and I knew what it was because I was a huge fan of Dune 2, which was a RTS. That was one of the very first RTSs ever made. And when I saw Warcraft Orcs and Humans out for MS-DOS in November 15th, 1994, how much do you think I paid for Warcraft? Don't look it up. Orcs and Humans for MS-DOS 29 years ago.
Well, you're saying that it's wilder than the $99 paid for Mega Man. So
he paid He paid not 99. He paid 95.
Oh, you said
$95. $95.
You're saying it's wilder than the $95 he paid for Mega Man, so it must have been more. I guess I would never have thought it was less. It was more than.
Well, this is for a computer game. Mega Man was at least a console.
Okay, fair enough.
So that's like
okay. I'm going to say that you. I'm going to say that you paid $50.
$99.99.
Oh my goodness! Was it a special edition?
No.
It was just how much it always cost.
Warcraft 1.
I don't even remember
when
that.
it came out was $100 in 1994.
Sheesh. I mean, I'll admit I didn't buy it right when it first came out. I got into the franchise at Warcraft 2, but that's a lot.
I know. That's like, let's see what that would be into inflation. So let's see.
It would be even more.
I know. Like, I'm curious to see value of 1990. That would be the equivalent of $205.
Yeah, it's about double since 1994. So yes.
Yeah, 1995. Yeah, or 1995. 99.95. Yeah, I said 1990. Okay, they were close. It was either. The point is, it was $100. Okay, it was $100. So games, and that's because that's what they cost to make, and they weren't selling that many of them. And it's this weird thing that video games used to be really expensive. I bought another one. Okay, Sword of Vermilion. Look that one up. Sword of Vermilion.
I don't even know what Sword of Vermilion is, so I will have to look that one up. Whereas I've played Warcraft Orcs and Humans.
Sword of Vermilion, which, by the way, you can get for like $1 now. When I bought that, and I remember
Sega Mega Drive game from 1989.
1989. 1989. Wow. You know how much that cost me? $79.95.
I'm actually not that surprised by that because I know it was very
bucks.
I know that they were very, very luxury items back then. I just, for some reason, didn't think that by 1994, 1995, that was still the case.
$80 in 1989. So when everyone's saying $70 video games, I am like, please. I was paying $70 video games 34 years ago. So I'm like, these are cheap, man. But video game pricing is interesting because it went from up here way down, and now it's starting to go back up again. There's a lot of reasons for that. And I'm going to see, I bet you, I've said this before on the show, that video games and role-playing games have a weird synergy to them, that the pricing for role-playing games was really high, and it really went low for a while. But it's going to start coming back up because, you know what? It's like AAA video games. Like, look at old books. They're not that great. Like, look at old TTRPG books. They don't have that much in them other than text. There's no graphics, and if they are, most are black and white. They're very simple. And then you have books like, this one, like Milwaukee Expanse. I mean, it's unbelievable. The amount of quality, amount of it's ridiculous. You want something this good?
The fact that the quality and cost and art
$60
went up while the price per word went down.
Yeah.
Ignoring inflation, it's wild, and it is
Player's Handbook.
It is wild. That's just but it's what happened.
Yeah,
because the economy is weird and confusing.
Oh my god!
And causes
look at
a lot
that
of problems.
Font. That's like a 4-point font, baby. Oh my god!
Which version of the Player's Handbook did you just open up? I didn't see the cover.
The original.
The original.
The original AD&D version.
The AD&D. So
not super original. It's
like the 1979 one.
Yeah,
first edition?
This is 1978.
1978. Okay.
6th printing. I have the 6th printing. But like
the first AD&D book, so that would have been like $32. And that's one of the ones that had tiny print and actually fit more words per page than we do now.
This print is so hard to read.
So
I used to like just
that one was actually the best deal for money out of any of them
I love
until
this picture.
except for the Rules Cyclopedia. It was number 2 on the list of best words for per money.
Oh, this has no wear on it? Yeah, it actually does. The I keep my books in pristine condition, my friend. Now there's like, I can actually see, you know what, I can see, it's funny, on this page, I could see the pen prints, because I'd be like writing, I'd put a piece of paper over here and then write on it, and I could see, you can't really see, but the indents of like the ballpoint pens. And what page is this? It's the Paladin and the Fighter. Yeah, because I'd be like, I have all the stuff here, and I put a piece of paper like right over here, because I was a kid, and looking at what I have here, magic users. Actually, I could tell what pages I looked at more by which pages had writing on them. Here we go. Weapon, and I can almost read it. I can almost read what I wrote. B something. You ever do that? Like you could see the marks. I can feel it's like Braille. And this is the provisions, armor, weapons page. So of course I was always on that.
Yeah. That's one you always have to flip to.
Yeah. Oh no, these books, it's actually, if you see on the other side, you can actually see the wear go through it. Anyhow, the point is like, you look at these books, like they're all text. I mean, and what few graphics were in here were luxury items. You know, like they just did not have that much in here. You know, they just do not. And if you want these really good books, I have a feeling that you're going to be seeing these books. I don't even think 60 is going to be around that much longer. I think it's going to go up to, I do have some marking in here. I don't know what that is. Like 70, 80 bucks easily. Here's some of my favorite. I like this one. You ever have some favorites? Like this one is the giant frog. Remember this one?
Oh yeah, the giant frog in the mode house.
I love these. It's like the artwork. That's the other thing. There's so little artwork that you remember. How about this one? Otto's Irresistible Dance with the Umber Hulk dancing. Mm-hmm. I love these.
Dancing Hulk.
The Dancing Hulk. 102 likes. Yeah. But this is actually, this is. Oh, and everyone remembers this one. The Magic Mouth.
It's a famous one.
Yep. Well, that's like the only full page picture in here. Here's something you don't see anymore. The alignment table. That's going bye-bye.
That's right.
So what does people think? I mean, Timber, there goes all my Eldamon.
Oh no. Eldamon Avalanche. Yeah, I've been looking at what people said in chat, and I definitely see a lot of people talking about how like this is not just this industry, and they're absolutely right. Just like the whole economy is weird, and like workers' actual buying power has not really been going up as inflation has been inflating, and a lot of things are just weirdly less expensive now without even counting inflation than they were before. It's definitely a sticky wicket. And it means that for companies that can't manage to just sell to a much wider audience and sell way more copies of things, they wind up getting into a lot of trouble.
Someone asked me to show the Invisible Stalker.
Oh image. Yeah, the Invisible Stalker from the original Monster Manual. Mirtos wants to see.
I haven't. I actually like the Grey Ooze. That's one of my favorites right there.
There's the original one. Yeah, I also like the second edition Invisible Stalker. There's just a blank square.
Here's the Invisible Stalker. There you go.
There it is.
Nothing. Intellect Devour. Man, that's good art. I mean, the art in this thing I devoured. This actually is heavily used. The inside pages are in pretty good shape, but the cover is destroyed. God, man, I used to just like read on this all day. I would just sit here looking. Oh, here's mold. What is Mind Flayer? Yeah. Here, what is the nastiest monster, which I said the other day and no one heard of, which I was gonna throw up. Rock grub. Look at that picture.
No one's heard of rock grub. Rock grubs are famous. They're so disgusting.
I think
and terrifying.
I know. I think I was talking to. It was with Lauren and Jess, and I don't think they knew what rock grub were. Or someone else.
Rock grubs were in Pathfinder First Edition. Even though they're now like boar worms or whatever in second edition, so that they're not using the exact same name.
Yeah. Yeah, it's this succubus art. It was all right. There's a I don't know about that. There was a lot of I had a lot of books. I'll leave it at that. The best armor. Oh, I was a min-maxer. You know what? You could. Good luck. Play first edition. You know what happened to you? You can
min-maxed or you die.
You die. I mean, it didn't matter if you min-maxed. You still die. Like,
I mean, yes, you're right. I didn't say it was an exclusive war, though, Steven.
Oh, yeah, you just died. It's like, I min-maxed. Okay. You died. So.
Yep, absolutely.
Wait, so what do people think? So
yeah, what are other people's
what
verdict?
People's
like we gave our opinions about this, about whether it might be good for the hobby, even if specifically the value proposition on some of the WoTC books might not be as worth it as it would be for other companies. I'm curious, do you buy that? Assuming that you want to see other publishers do well, that the fact that WoTC raises it means that they'll be able to raise to an amount that's more sustainable, and that's a good thing. Do you not buy that? What are your thoughts in chat?
Sorry, I'm looking. I have to look something up while we're talking.
Yeah, no, I'll take a look to see what people think about our take here. I figured it could be a contentious take, but I am sort of agreeing with all of the main people who are saying things in terms of social media, kind of being like, well, both sides of this have a point. So people are saying they don't mind paying for quality. Jonas Devlin says Indigo Isle box set with cloth map. Hey, there is a cloth map.
There is a cloth map. I don't want to show it because it's a spoiler, but I got it right here.
Yeah, it would spoil some locations,
but I got the cloth map
because it's the missing map.
And you know what else I have around here that maybe if people are interested in for the other Kickstarter that we're going to probably start pretty soon, if I can find it, because where the hell did it go? And now I look like an idiot, so stall for me while I...
All right, I'll stall for you. People are saying they stopped buying Wizards books, so it doesn't really matter to them. They want the prices to go up so that it will decrease their market share. They think it might be good overall, but they worry that young kids won't be able to join. So there are a lot of nuanced takes on this that are really looking at it with more scrutiny than just some of the very surface level responses that we first started seeing.
Yeah, I remember when Netflix, I used to use Netflix, and they went from really early. I think it was I think they went from $6 a month, remember that, to $9 a month, and every headline was Netflix raises their prices 50%. It was every single person used the percentage, because I'm and then people were like, oh, and this is a while ago. We're talking about 10 years ago when no one was using Netflix, and I was telling oh, I heard Netflix is real expensive. I'm like, they raised it $3, and I was like, what? I'm like, yeah, $3 a month. They're like, oh. It's I thought it raised 60%. I'm like, yeah, $3. They're like, oh, okay. That's the thing. It's sensational. Okay, this map is so big, Mark. Look, I had to fold it in half.
Wow.
Whoops, I dropped it. Whoop. Look at the Indigo Isles.
Wait, didn't you say it could be a spoiler?
No, this is the Indigo Isles map for the whole Indigo
Isles. The first one was the Adventure 1
That's
map.
the adventure map. This is the map
Indigo
of the
Isles.
Indigo Isles. It even has a cool little border and everything, and it's cloth, and it's soft. It's tough. And maybe in the World of Battle Zoo Indigo Isles book that we're working on, that's going to be coming out way sooner than anyone thinks, you can also get this awesome map. Woohoo! It's 14 inches too. It's actually a good size. So
I think that's cool.
Yeah, it's not too big. The problem is if you go above 14 inches, the price goes way up, and I don't think it's worth it. And quite frankly, I think 14 inches is more than enough. I can see everything. I am going to reprint it a little different because some of the names got a little messed up. So this is a sample, and I'm gonna get it redone so that everyone gets. That's quality, buddy. Is that I get multiple samples, and I'll keep reprinting it till I get it just the way I want it. And these are not free, because I got to FedEx them from China. So
there you have it.
There you go.
So yeah, it looks like there's a lot of different positions, and one person pointed out, where is the extra money going to go to? Into corporate pockets or the writers, designers, artists? I bet it's corporate pockets, but I mean, it's going to be some degree of splitting. But
I mean, the difference, yeah, I mean, that's actually a good point, because like the difference is like, if my books sell well, I add more pages to my next book. Okay.
Yep.
And
so
Mark
you get
knows
more
this.
content.
Mark knows this because he's got to tell me to stop adding pages. So
yeah,
but
I do sometimes. Not because I actually love the things Steven wants to add. I'm just like, I think we'll run out of time, or it'll take a long time to make this book. But I'd love to add it, but we might need to lower it. But yeah, Steven will add more content to books, and even if he doesn't, like, ultimately, right, it's going to the two people who are actually in the middle here doing everything, as opposed to like not trickling down to the the people who are designing the game and working on the layout. And
when you buy our products, it literally goes to me and Mark and everyone who puts work into these books, whether it's the artists or the writers or the digital people, everyone. I mean, they get
we
paid.
offer a higher word rate maximum for some hard projects or some of our authors than the maximum that Paizo does.
Yeah, but I'm not
even though we're a smaller company, because we want to make sure that is working out for everybody.
Yeah, but I'm not going to be shy about asking you guys to buy our stuff, because it's simple as that. It's like, if you want very high quality and you want good stuff and you want things that people can use in their games, we are going to ask you to buy it, because then that will help support us. And I'm not asking you to buy 10, 20, 30 books a year, because we're not even doing that yet. We're coming out with a few books a year at most. And if you get that stuff, then we can continue doing what we're doing and coming out with really strong stuff. You know what I can't believe? Do you know, like, every single person I know has a dragon in their game, Mark? Like,
a dragon PC? That's awesome. That makes me so happy.
Every game has a dragon.
That makes me so happy.
It is kind of amazing how well that book is sold. Like, that book is ridiculous.
I'm glad, really because you have such amazing ideas for new books, but that one was my idea for a book, and so I'm happy to see that it was popular too.
You got to give me the credit for I didn't do it, but I art directed it. So
you absolutely art directed it, yes. and you directing it in Firat for that great art is like, that's like at least 25% of the appeal. And I say that as the person who wrote the entire thing, so like, I might be biased towards the other portion of it, but that art is
75%. Well, and the layout too. I mean, I think I did a good layout with that book. It's really strong. It's one of my stronger layouts. So I'm looking here, people are like, yep, look at that, both my kids play dragons in the beginner's box. Look at that. You know why? Because the dragon, it has something. I think we hit the golden spot, because everyone likes to play dragon, and there's so many options. You can play anything you want, like whatever type of dragon. You want to play a nerdy dragon? We got those. You want to play goofy dragon? We got that. You want to play religious, forthright? We got every type of dragons in that book. You can find the dragon personality you want. But I'll tell you something, Mark. There's a couple new types of dragons out there that people haven't thought of before. I bet you we can come up with some new ideas. And I think I have
so many ideas, Steven, that I could probably, and so do you, we could do probably a book only of new ideas. And then Paizo has new dragons that are coming out next year. True. So like, I could see multiple dragon things if people keep loving dragons. Because Steven, we did an AMA on Reddit like a few weeks ago, and I was watching all of them. I don't know how much you followed it, but like 10 people asked me, can you do another follow-up with more dragons? Really? Or will there possibly be a way to get the new dragons, like the Mirage dragon that Paizo is putting out?
The funny thing is, someone said on our Discord, because we had the Leshy dragons, and they said, oh, what new dragons are there? It's like the Leshy dragons, they made them up. And then I wrote, and so my response is,
all dragons are made up.
All dragons are made up. I hate to break it to you. I'm like, they're all made up. But the point is, I do find that funny when people think of official dragons versus new dragons. Because one thing we did, because we added the wild dragons, and they're all quote new, and they're like, you can't add new dragons. I'm like, why not? I'm like, they're all made up. As long as I think you have to do them using the same methodology in the family and the structure as other dragons, so it fits, which we did.
Like, I was there on the development and design or development or both of every dragon that came out for Pathfinder 2nd edition for the monster statistics. So we made sure to follow the same structure as those dragons had.
I love my wild dragons. I love every one
Wild
of those.
dragons are great. And we have one Leshy dragon, the Toadstool dragon, but people have kept asking, can you finish off the other Leshy dragons? When are we going to see those dragons?
I like the Toadstool because most dragons are dragons first, and then maybe hang out as NPCs, or they're very mysterious and powerful. But I like the wild dragons because they're really like goofballs, and they like to hang out with humans. Like they like the humanoids. They like to hang out. They like to be in cities. They like to adventure. They're like, they're like, hey, this is fun. Let's do this. They're all about being with other people too. They're very social. They're like the dogs of the dragon world. I would say they're very social, very fun, loving dragons, and they're not scary. They can be. Yeah, I mean, there are dragons after all, but they don't have to be. And I think because most people play games, at least all the games I've played with dragons, they play them pretty goofy. I have not seen a super serious dragon yet in any of the games I've played.
That's why Havoc Dragon is your favorite, the hot mess of dragon kind.
I know, but that's what Vanessa's playing. Vanessa is so goofy. And she's always walking around knocking things over because she's always 15 feet big. She's always huge in size. She's always knocking stuff over, and like she's a total klutz. It's great. It's great. So yes.
Yeah. That is dragons. I'm very excited about those possibilities too.
Radioactive dragon. That's actually not a bad idea. The problem with the radioactive dragon is that's actually one of the worst spells in Starfinder is radioactivity, because it's way too powerful. Because it will do AoE and direct damage. And anything that does that is, I think, a little too strong, especially if you can't see it. And
we could always make our dragon not be overpowered.
No, I know we can, but I think I've seen that the problem whenever you do an aura effect with like a radioactivity, it's very hard to balance.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's very hard because it's like, well, it's radioactive. Does it have an aura? No, not at low levels. Why? Plot armor, can't kill everyone. I mean, it's the old, like, why can't you fly?
Even the red and white dragons in Pathfinder 2nd gain an aura at high levels. They get like a flame aura and a cold aura.
Yeah, but the point is, right, but then, that's not considered core to them. Like, radioactivity, even at the lowest levels, will kill you, or it's bad for you. So it's like, well, they're radioactive, but that's more like an X-ray. It's not like a nuclear power plant, so
that's a good point.
It's like it's stronger, it gets stronger, and they can then start killing you. But then they would kill their allies too. Like, they mentally had problems with that, because it's like, is radioactivity a type? Do we make a new type for Pathfinder?
It's kind of a poison.
Is it a poison?
It usually does poison damage in Pathfinder.
Yeah, it would have to be a poison.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's room for things that are at least have that kind of a feel, even if they're not literally radioactivity. You could have like a dragon that just how isotopes are splitting and changing is like shifting around in some weird ways. We could figure something out.
Yeah, like a wild dragon. A wild dragon would be a great idea, kind of like the wild mage. I'd love that. That would be a great idea. I wonder if someone would do that.
I mean, Steven, if anyone would do it, it would probably be us, given our shared love for like the Rod of Wonder and Deck of Many Things and really random items.
I wonder if someone would do that. I guess we'll have to just wait and find out, won't we?
Yes, we will. So I think that we've I looked to see what people were saying about the topic, and I gave some summaries to you, Steven, but it looks like there's a lot of nuanced takes on this that are that aren't like being whole objectively yes good or yes bad or no bad or just one thing like that, but are really looking into all the details, which is what we encourage on the show, is not just a knee-jerk response, but like kind of drilling in and looking at what things are good about it, what things are bad about it, where there are problems and where there are opportunities.
Yeah, no, I think, and I do have to go soon, but it does look like everyone
Me too.
does have a nuance to that. They're basically like, look, if it's worth it, they'll pay for it. I mean, that seems to be the gist of what I'm seeing, is that people feel like, look, if it's a good product, they'll pay for it. I mean, Tales of the Valiant, not cheap. And I've seen people calling them out on that. Like, very good Kickstarters doing very well. Not a cheap product in any way, shape, or form.
Kickstarter is one of the few times that you maybe could afford to get less of a margin, maybe because if you know you're going to sell a lot. But even then, they're $60, right?
At least, actually, and
they
some of their
have
highest
one version that's like
$700. $700.
That one, I don't even know that it looks better than their regular special edition. The regular special edition is really cool looking that they have, but the 700 one, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's not really worth it in my opinion. But I mean, like, at $700, you really have to start getting some crazy stuff. More power to them.
Hopefully, they will have some people who like that one and want to support them more.
Hey, Cobalt has a huge following. I got nothing against them, and I love Cobalt. I talk to them not all the time. I talk to them a lot at conventions. I have a lot of friends, and at the conventions I talk to, and because Amanda's boyfriend works there, so I usually hang out with him and Amanda a lot. And they do a really good job. They know exactly. I actually model a lot of what I do after what they do, because they actually do a really, really good job of getting the books out that they want to get out. And they also have gotten very good at putting out very specific books for very specific people and their games. They don't put out 50 books. They only put out a few books a year, but every one of them are really good quality so far. So anyhow,
that makes sense.
I did have one more thing. I can't remember what I was going to say.
One more thing.
Oh, is anyone going to PaizoCon? We're not doing anything for PaizoCon.
We're doing a few things, but it's just with me.
Oh, what do you do? Oh, so right, you're doing
Friday,
some stuff, right?
On Friday, Rise of the Rule Lords, aka one of the top mods for the Pathfinder 2e Reddit, is running a game show with me, Liz Liddell, and Luis Loza. So I'm the only one who's not LL.
Wait, what's that for?
It's called the Play Test. Where he will read a rule and we will have secretly held up a sign that says either Pathfinder 1, Pathfinder Playtest for 2, Pathfinder 2, or errata of which version of it is to see if our brains are broken by which version.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It does sound like a nightmare, which is why I think it's going to be hilarious. And it's at 5 p.m. Pacific on Friday. Then the other thing that I'm doing is that I talked to you about is on Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is when all of the regular programming has just ended. So they're going to try to send social media to send people over, but they can't raid us because it's on YouTube. I'm going to be on with DM Lair to talk about the pitfalls of converting your game or just starting up in Pathfinder 2. Especially pitfalls that someone who started in another edition, like 5th edition D&D, for example, might fall into. And you know what? They're converting, so they've seen some of these pitfalls. We'll talk about what they are and how to avoid them. So that's going to be a PaizoCon stream that is just after their programming schedule ends, because basically Luke had the idea for it. I was like, that's right around PaizoCon. Let's talk to them. But by the time we did, the schedule had been finalized. So we go right after they end.
Yeah, I'm actually also going to be on the DM layer in the near future.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. Now people are starting to schedule us for things even I'm not aware of.
Hey, I told you about the DM layer one, but I didn't tell you about the game show one because I figured you didn't care.
June 7th. Oh, wait, June 7th? Wait a second.
June 7th. That's actually 2 weeks from today.
Well, that's also when
it's also a Wednesday.
Yeah, but that's also when we have James Sutter on. No, with that game, I'm doing 6 p.m. Eastern on June 7th. Guess I'm going to be pretty busy that day.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure we finish by 6 on June 7th.
Well, not only that, June 7th is now when RPG Superstar ends.
Right, because it got extended by a
got
week.
extended a little bit more than a week. I did it on purpose because A, I forgot it was a holiday. B, I forgot it was PaizoCon.
The middle of PaizoCon, yeah, or C, near the end.
I'm actually not going to be around the day it ended, and I don't like to finish and have the site actually do convert. Like it's gonna switch over from submissions to public voting, and the last thing I want is the site to not work, and I'm by the pool. So I was like, it's a little selfish, but also it gave everyone another week, and a lot of people have been like thanking me on the Discord saying thank God that they got more time. But yeah, the RPG Superstar, we actually don't have as many entries as I thought. So
people in chat pointed out Kobold only made 30 of the $700 sets, and they all sold.
I know, but the point is, those sets, they can make 500 of those sets if they wanted to. It's like, they're not...
I don't know if they would all sell at 500
No, they won't. But the point is, it's like, they can make as many of those as they want.
Yes. I mean, they obviously made it to make it feel more exclusive that there were fewer of them. Oh. At work, they all sold.
Oh, I went to Kickstarter, and it looks like my new Kickstarter has... almost finished. There's a process you have to go through, and I have completed most of the process.
Yeah.
So far.
Good work, Steven.
Yes.
All right. So I know you and I both have to go pretty soon.
I gotta go. Yep.
So let's take care, everybody. We'll see you next week for not James Sutter, and then the week after that for James Sutter. Does James Sutter have a topic, or just like he wants to be on a...
Oh, yes. Cool. Do you want to know his topic?
Sure, but you don't have to tell them if you don't want to.
No, it's fine. He won't mind. I know he's actually here to promote something. He is promoting... Hold on.
Is it his new novel, or is it something else?
The Starfinder comic series he wrote.
Yeah, I heard about the Starfinder comic series.
Right, and he wants to talk about that, or the Agents of Edgewatch. And his young adult novels, and I'm like, dude, we're gonna talk Agents of Edgewatch.
So it is. So it's his young adult novels and the Starfinder comics, and yeah, he wrote one of the volumes of Agents of Edgewatch that you really liked. I think it was one of your favorite parts of Agents of Edgewatch.
Agents of Edgewatch, because we are up to the 5th book, and it takes a big turn, and I don't know, whoever votes this one low. I know people vote this one low. Everyone, I think, votes this low are people. I think it's because of the beginning
and the premise and having to like take money from the people that you're beating up at the beginning. And I think that's how it gets the low things. They don't make it to part 5 where there's cool plot twists.
You are 100% right. I have spoken about this a lot with I spoke about this with Patrick because he ran this one, and I told him what we did, and he was like, "Oops!" He thought that was because I added this whole badge system, magic item, and that was a big problem. But I think anyone who runs it, they all say the same thing. Everyone who runs it says this thing is a masterpiece, but people who read it, I think it just seems normal, like a regular adventure path. This thing is crazy. It's really going in places. This one and Extinction Curse are the two that at the end of book 4, both parties were like, this did not go in any way whatsoever. This went in a direction I did not expect whatsoever. And that's the biggest compliment you can give any adventure path, especially adventure path, because everyone expects it to go one way, but it doesn't. But
it's somewhat of a compliment, and I like ones that really surprise me sometimes. But sometimes it doesn't make it the most popular.
Yes,
because when people don't get what they wanted, or expected, like Extinction Curse, that's why it's rated low.
That's rated low
because people want it to be all about the circus,
it's
and
not. It's nothing to do with the circus.
And the reason Second Darkness is by far rated the lowest adventure path for all of Pathfinder First and 3.5 D&D. Is because they like make selfish pirates who live in the pirate city of Riddleport, and then during like the first adventure, some arrogant, obnoxious elves come and annoy you, and then you're assumed that you're going to help the elves for free after that point. And that's the entire rest of the adventure path, and it's just like, wait, what? So like when you twist people off what they expect to get, that's how you get lower rating for the AP. Even though, by the way, some of the individual adventures for Second Darkness are really interesting. Like there's one that's like in a city that like weirdly is skipping around in time and other stuff like that. There's some really good stuff, but it's by far the lowest rated AP because when it veers you off the path that people think, then they're not always thrilled about that.
I will tell you, because I've been talking to people who are playing Indigo Isles, because that one we made sure it's like it literally starts off the first page, treasure map. Go find a treasure map. There you go. There's no intro. It's just
and then you get to meet with the royalty at the beginning.
Just starts.
The only intro that exists is if you watch last PaizoCon.
Right. I created a
prequel where people were on a sort of like a random pub crawl.
Yes.
And they wound up like finding like an underground smuggling group and helping the princess to defeat the smuggling group. And then that's why they were sent to the hypothetically, these were the Iconics. So that's why the Iconics were there.
Someone said like Last Jedi. That's not a bad comparison. It's actually a little bit closer to the Matrix, because the Matrix kind of drops you in the middle of the second act without you realizing it. And I like doing that. I like dropping people in the middle of either the end of the first act or the beginning of a second act, and they're like,
"You like in media res?"
Steven? Yes, I do. It's very tricky to do right, but I think we did it well. And what I can't believe, people are flying through this adventure. People must go a lot faster than I do.
Did people actually finish the first?
Yes,
the first entire book in Foundry.
Yes,
since the Foundry release.
Yes, people are like, I'm like, this just came out. How quickly are you guys doing the book?
Steven, the Foundry release came out less than a week ago. How did they do that? Are they the Order of the Amber Dye?
No, some people
just play the entire thing one weekend.
A lot of people are up to chapter 3. Now, there's only 4 chapters. Now, granted,
I guess they're not completely done yet, but
chapter 1
fast.
It's pretty fast. Well, chapter 1 and chapter 2, you can power through chapter 1 and chapter 2. If you wanted to, you could power through those pretty quick.
But chapter 3 has a lot of stuff in it.
No way. Chapter 3, chapter 4, those will buy.
Those are meaty.
Those are meat. That's meaty chapters. That is not, you cannot.
If you don't like role playing, sure, you can get through chapter 1 quickly. You get through
chapter 1 in one session if you wanted to. And I've seen people go through that very quick. I've seen people go through chapter 1 in one session.
But I'm not surprised that I think, if I remember, 25 North took many sessions to do chapter 1 because they love role playing and they love role playing and exploring.
It's a huge chapter. Well, it's as much as you want to. If you want to explore the city and talk to people, that can take a long time. That could be a 1 session, or that could be 20 sessions. It could be whatever you want it to be. Chapter 2 is, a little okay, but chapter 3 and 4 are meaty. Those are meaty, long. That will not go fast. I guarantee it. That will take a while. But I gotta go because I gotta be somewhere.
Right. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Bye. All right, I gotta go.
Bye. See ya.